I'm here to provide you guys with a Jett guide. People have been recently asking me to make this guide. Now, Jett is a very simple character. She's a entry duelist. She's one of 4 or 3, considering what you think of Yoru. But she's one of 3. So there's Neon, there's Raze, and then of course Jett. Jett, out of all of those 3s, is probably the easiest one to learn and what I would recommend for newer players who want to enter that role. Going off of that, let's go over how her utility is, or what her utility is. So she has a smoke. This lasts 2.5 seconds. It's a bit smaller than a normal smoke, I believe. Pretty sure it is. Then there is a updraft, which is just an enhanced jump. And then you have a dash. The dash timer is 7.5 seconds, and it takes 1 second to wind up. So like when you press the button, to when you can actually dash, it is 1 second. Then she has her ultimate, which is 5 knives. They're 100% accurate and go exactly to where your crosshair is. Sometimes it may not feel like that, but it is what it is. And then her last thing is a passive, which is a glide. So like if you jump up and in the air, you glide by just holding down the spacebar. Now, I went over her role and what her role is. Her role is an entry duelist. What that means is that when you're taking a site and about to take a site, the first person that's going in to take space and draw crosshairs is the entry duelist. And that is what Jett is. Now, how do you do this? You typically are popping your dash using a smoke and then dashing into the smoke. But before we go into how to entry, let's go over what you should be doing prior to that point. Now, you're not immediately going to be ready to take a site at all times. Maybe if you're 5-manning and you immediately run into main, but you need to be very careful as Jett, because you're a very important piece of your team comp. Because if you are dead, for example, they have no entry duelists, and then there's Reyna alive, Sova, a controller, and then a sentinel. They have no ability to open up a site. They have no ability to immediately draw crosshairs. The only thing that they have is their utility. But at the end of the day, they have to immediately walk out the smoke where everybody can look at you from. They can look at you from tree, they can look at you from gen, the boxes, left side heaven, right side heaven, this side of the box. They could be close left, close right. And that is where your job as Jett is very important. Because not only are you entering, you're also getting information, you're also drawing crosshairs, so your team isn't the only people being looked at. And so like a site exec can actually function. At the very beginning of the round, you want to avoid dying, you want to avoid taking super risky fights, and if you do start taking space where people can peek you, you want to be very careful with how you're peeking, what you're peeking, and be very ready to take fights. Let's go over how you entry. Now, I believe I said before, you pop your dash, you throw your smoke, and then you jet dash into the smoke. Now, outside of that is you can also gain information like I said before. So you pop your dash, you throw a smoke, and then you look left. So you dash in, you look whatever direction you want to go, and then you're in the smoke. You gain information. Now your team knows where to look. Now you know where to fight and take engagements, and it makes things a lot easier. It makes a site exec a lot easier. It helps you understand what you want to do and how to take your fight. Now, there are multiple ways to entry, but I'm going to go over how her utility can be used individually and then go over how you can entry on every other map. Now, I have a video on that specifically. I'll put that down in the description. Outside of how you entry, you need to understand how your util can be used and what you can do with the util. So let's talk about the smokes, for example. Your smokes are just a normal smoke that just lasts a lot less time. You can essentially kind of think about how smokes are used and then use the smokes on Jett kind of like that, but more of a proactive, in a more proactive sense. So you can use the smokes to block Sova dart. So Sova dart Sova's shooting his dart on top right, then you can smoke it off, and then nobody will get tagged. That's what a lot of high level Jett players do, and you want to make that a very large habit because nobody shoots darts. You start, boom, throw it up, and then you're good. You won't get tagged, you won't get sprayed. Another thing you can do, say for example, you're entering onto the site. Sometimes ranked matches can be very hectic, and so they're not following exactly with your tempo, and you entry onto site, and then you're kind of by yourself for a lot longer than you'd want it. So you dash into smoke, dash in, and then you're sitting in your smoke. You can just drop another smoke and then just sit in the smoke for a second, look at your map, and see what you want to do. You know, your teammate now finally walks out, you walk out, and then now you can finally take some comfortable fights after you took a breather. Because when you're entering on the site, you're the first one in, you're trying to take the first engagements, you do not want to be panicked while taking a fight, because you're just going to end up losing more, your aim's going to be bad, and you're not going to be able to properly react to things that are happening to you. So that's another way to use the smokes. Another way is you can use it as a mini one-way. I kind of threw it wrong, but you kind of want to aim a little higher, and then you can use it as a little one-way. It's kind of bad, but you know what I'm saying. You can use it one-way, it'll stop people from peeking you immediately. Say if you got a kill, and then you go on a one-way immediately and continue fighting, you can do that. Then there's also just using it for cover. So say for example, I don't have my dash, I take a peek, and then I can smoke off and back up. They aren't gonna try and push through the smoke, and I can pre-aim and I can continue fighting. That, or if I want to cross the main and there's possibly something tree, I smoke off the tree, and then I cross, of course. And then you can also use it as kind of a fake. So say I'm in wine, people know I'm wine, and then I smoke it off. Now I don't actually have to cross, I can just sit here. They're gonna think that I crossed, they're gonna pre-aim a main, and I can continue fighting like so, off of a timing. There's multiple different ways to use Jett smoke, but it's very dependent on how much you use her and your creativity and what you're thinking of in the moment. Now let's go to her updraft. Her updraft is very simple. It's just a very large jump, essentially. So you can use it kind of in a way as just getting into off angles and just the high ground. You can jump up here, peek it. For example, at the start of a round, you know, you can get up on top of the box on defense, and you can just chill right here. Then maybe you get on the site and you want to get on the off angle in heaven, you know, you get up top of here. That's just a very basic way to use it. Another way you can use it as in, like, you want to get onto higher places on your entry. Let's say for Jenny for example, you know, you can smoke it, you pop your dash, and then you updraft dash into smoke on top of Jenny. You can also use it like that. You can use it on your entry. Let's say you want to get on top of this box, people know what's calling. You can do that too. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but it's just like things like that you can use updraft for as well. And then lastly, from what I can remember and what I usually do, is you can use your updraft, or there's two more things. You can use your updraft to bait enemies as well. So say for example, there is an op player right here, and you want to bait his crosshair. So I can just jump, do a bunch of movement, right? And then my teammate can peek off of me. So his crosshair is now onto me, and then my teammate can peek, and then get a free fight where he's not even looking at you, or looking at my teammate. He's looking at me, and I'm moving it all in the air, and he can't even deal with me. And my teammate gets a free fight, free kill. And it just makes things a lot easier. You can use yourself as bait with your high mobility. That's another way you can use it. And then you can also use it as a way to make it harder for you to hit, of course. Again, it's a little too far for me to jet dash away, then dash, and I updraft, and then I try and get away like that. That's another way you can use your updraft. Just make it harder for them to hit you after you get one, and then you try to jet dash backwards, and you just don't have enough distance with the jet dash to properly go far enough into safety. That's another way you can use your updraft. Now your dash, not a lot of ways you can use your dash. It's a very simple thing. Your dash, you can go whatever direction you want to go as long as your arrow keys allow it. So if you want to go diagonal, you hold WAD or WD. If you want to go diagonal left, you go WAA, and then you want to go backward, you WS, or like, you know, etc, etc, like that. Now you don't want to just use your dash on entry all the time. Like say for main, you can jet dash like this and gain info like that as well. That's another way you can use your jet dash. But the typical way to use your jet dash is for getting away from fights and playing in positions that typically other characters cannot play in. That's why Jett is so strong. So say I'm out wide, I hear them coming A main, right? They're running up A main, and then I pop my dash, boom, I get one, and then I get away. Or if I want to peek A main and they're coming at me, boom, I peek and I dash away. Now the problem is with other players is that you commit to this fight for too long. What you want to do typically is to just take a bullet, take maybe 2 bullets at most, and then immediately get away. Jet dash just allows you to take engagements that you typically wouldn't probably take if you're on any other agent. Let's say you're playing Omen, for example. He has no real mobility to immediately get him out of the situation. He peeks, he may try to Omen TP, but it's already too late. He's already been headshotted. But for Jett, for example, he can peek and immediately dash away. And that's how you want to use Jett for engagements. You don't want to commit to the fight too long. You just want to boom, get one, and then dash away. Now, for example, if one person peeked, right, boom, I got him, then maybe your dash is still up, then you can maybe go for one more, and then you want to dash away. You want to be very decisive with what you're doing and how you're using your Jett dash. So that's just one thing that a lot of Jett players don't do, is that they commit for too long and they're kind of hesitant to Jett dash away, trying to get more kills than they should be trying to go for. And it's very important to be like, okay, I'm gonna pop my Jett dash, I'm gonna fight this, and if I miss my shot, I miss my shot. I don't like it, my kill doesn't matter. At least I've created pressure. That's how you have to think of using Jett dash. Now another thing is people end up using their Jett dash too much, right? So let's say I'm gonna peek mid. I know there could be an engagement bottom mid, right? But a lot of players will pop their Jett dash, right, and then peek it. Now there's nobody there, and now you have no Jett dash, and now your utility's gone, and your main piece of utility is just, you're just a regular agent at this point. You don't really have anything you can do. You can't entry, you can't do anything. Now you want to really avoid that. You really want to use your Jett dash in situations where you know that there's a player. For example, if a player has been playing cat every single round, you've seen him every single round that he's played cat, you heard him every round, then maybe you can Jett dash, up your Jett dash, and then dash away. But you want to be very sure that there's people, and not just pop your Jett dash just because there is a possible threat. That will save your Jett dash more. You'll have more value in the Jett dash, and you'll probably get more kills and stay alive a lot longer if you do that. Now let's go on to her knives. Her knives are very important. Her knives are very good. They're 100% accurate, and they immediately kill you if you head tap somebody. And this is just a 3 tap to the body. Now, when you're using Jett knives, you want to have as much mobility as possible, but you can only have as much mobility as you do aim, right? So you can have all the movement you want, but if you can't aim while you're moving and doing things, then there's no point of you using all this movement. So you want to be very, for newer players, you want to simplify your movement just enough to where you can properly aim at the enemy. You don't want to just jump around, updraft, move all around, move left, right in the air, glide, move, boom, and do all of that extra stuff if you can't aim at the target. So I would recommend being very simple. Maybe popping your Jett dash, go left, keep holding left, and then Jett dash away maybe. Or just, you know, you Jett dash in, boom, you Jett updraft, dash, and then you sit in the air for like, stand still for a second so you can properly aim. And just things like that. You don't want to put too much pressure on yourself and your ability to aim, because if you can't do it, then all you have to do is improve your aim, and then you'll eventually be able to do it. But if you don't have the ability to do it, you want to be very, very simple with how you're using your movement and your Jett knives. Now, understanding that, as you can tell from what I'm saying and like all of what I've gone over, is very simple. If you're thinking about it, it's very digestible. And it's like that because Jett is just objectively an extremely simple character. And all of her util is very, very simple. And what you may notice is that none of them objectively help you win a fight. Like, let's use Raze for example. Raze has a satchel. You can satchel, it'll displace the enemy, and it just helps you win the fight. And it's just going to be almost impossible for the enemy to actually kill you unless they get lucky. Or a Raze, a Neon has her slide and her stun that help you win the fight, and it just takes the enemy having amazing crosshair placement and just amazing luck just to be able to win the fight against you. But for Jett doesn't really have any of that. She can dash into her enemy, but she can't pull out her gun fast enough and you get shot. She can put down her smoke. That smoke doesn't really help her do anything. She can use her updrafts, but how does that help you win the fight effectively? So as you can see, her utility isn't like, it doesn't help you win fights. It helps you get into positions that will help you win a fight that are weird for the enemy to understand and weird for the enemy to predict what they're doing. For example, I can, of course, you know, I'm going through a main, right? I have my Jett knives, I have my smoke, I smoke, and then I'm randomly jumping and I'm ready to fight him. Now it's a weird position. It helps me get into a weird position for my enemy that can't really predict it. He has to put his crosshair in such a weird spot that he's not going to be very used to. And that's what Jett excels at. Now, the other thing is that Jett Jett's skill ceiling isn't how you use her utility, but how good your aim is with what she can do, right? So like you can be good at using her utility, you can know what all you can do, you can immediately throw your smoke at a Sovidar and all these things, play on all these off angles. But if you can't shoot your gun, then you're going to be very, very useless. You're not going to be a very good Jett. For example, if I had my knives and I updraft, I take this position, now I can see behind, I can see under, but if I can't hit my shots, then I just wasted all of my util, and now I just have no util to use anymore. Or I can Jett dash, updraft on top of Jenny, and if I can't kill this guy, then like, and I can't shoot him, then like what's the point? You can't really do anything. It doesn't, like, none of my util helps me fight him, but it helps me get into a position that would help me win the fight. That's all I'm saying. You need decent mechanics as Jett to properly be able to bring value out of this character. Outside of that, Jett excels with weapons that do a lot of damage in a single burst. Let's say, for example, a Guardian one taps to the head, Ops one tap to the body, Judges instantly one tap, and her utility allows you to get closer to an enemy and lets you take a fight up close and do a lot of damage, and you can immediately get out or reposition, right? Or a Sheriff that can one tap in the head. Jett excels with all of these weapons because of her ability to just get out, to get in and to get out immediately, right? Because her entire kit is about repositioning and positioning yourself and getting into different spots, being a little bit surprising. If you really want to climb as Jett, you need to know how to op. Now, you may see these pro players and these high-level Radiants not use an op as much, and that's because they just don't want to. But they're mechanically good enough with a Vandal that they don't really have to op. But for us, who are not in Radiant, we should be learning how to op. We should know how to op. We should be able to... It'll just be infinitely easier for you to climb as Jett because you can take dumb fights, you can play weird positions, and you can just negate all of the downsides to an op just because you have a Jett dash, just because you have these smokes, just because you have this updraft. But other than that, there's not really much else to say about Jett. Her skill ceiling is as high as your mechanics can go. That's what her skill ceiling is. That's what her util is based off of. And then maybe the unique things that you can learn from using her smoke or using her updraft, I guess. But outside of that, your mechanics are the most important when using this character. You need to have good mechanics and good decision making, and be very decisive with how you're using your utility, how you're taking these gunfights to properly succeed as Jett. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll be working on a Neon video next.